The Peterson family Christmas dinner was a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare, served with a side of honey-glazed ham. Snow fell softly outside the Victorian mansion's windows while inside. The warmth did nothing to thaw the icy undercurrents of family dynamics. I adjusted my simple wool sweater clearance rack at Target, my brother Michael would surely point out, and took my assigned seat at the far end of the table. As the unsuccessful sibling, I'd long ago accepted my place in the family hierarchy. "Olivia, darling," Mother chimed, passing the crystal gravy boat that cost more than my pretend monthly rent. "We were just discussing Michael's new position as Chief of Neurosurgery. Isn't it wonderful?" Michael preened in his designer suit, Rolex glinting under the chandelier. "The youngest chief in St. Mary's history," he reminded everyone for the 7th time that evening. I quietly served myself mashed potatoes, thinking about the board meeting I'd ducked out of to be here. The acquisition papers were probably on my desk already, waiting for final signatures. "And what are you up to these days, dear?" Aunt Patricia asked, her tone suggesting she expected the answer to be, "Still nothing." Before I could respond, Michael jumped in. "Oh, Liv's still doing her little administrative work at some clinic downtown." "Receptionist, right, sis?" "Healthcare management," I corrected softly, catching Maria the housekeeper's knowing smile. She'd been helping me maintain my cover for years. "Speaking of healthcare," Father interjected, swirling his expensive bourbon, "Michael tells me you've dropped your insurance coverage." "Really, Olivia, that's incredibly irresponsible." I took a sip of water. "I have coverage." "That discount plan you mentioned?" Michael scoffed. "That's not real insurance, sis. You know, as Chief of Neurosurgery, I could explain the importance of comprehensive coverage." "I'm familiar with insurance systems," I said, thinking of the healthcare network I'd built across 3 continents. "Familiar?" Michael laughed. "You can't even afford the basic plan at your little clinic. What happens if you get sick? Come begging to your big brother." Mother sighed dramatically. "We just worry about you, dear. Michael has offered to help with your premiums." "That's not necessary," I replied, checking my phone discreetly as it vibrated. The merger was complete. "Of course it's necessary," Michael insisted. "You need a real doctor looking out for you. In fact, I'm meeting the hospital owner next week about expanding coverage options for low-income workers. Like you." I bit back a smile. The meeting he was referring to had been cancelled an hour ago. He just didn't know it yet. "How charitable of you," I murmured as my secure phone buzzed against my ankle. "Right on schedule." "Well, someone has to look out for the less fortunate," Michael continued, reaching for his ringing phone. "Excuse me, this is the hospital." The room fell silent as he answered. "Dr. Peterson speaking." "Yes." "What do you mean postponed?" "The owner never cancels." "What announcement?" His face paled slightly. "New ownership." "Since when?" "Today." "But that's impossible." I took another bite of turkey, savoring more than just the flavor. "What do you mean you need the owner's approval for my proposal?" Michael's voice rose. "Just get them on the phone." Mother beamed, probably assuming this was another example of her son's authority. Father nodded approvingly. Then Michael's expression changed. She's there right now?" "In my office." I dabbed my lips with a napkin and stood up. "If you'll excuse me." Michael's phone slipped slightly in his grip. "What do you mean, ask her yourself?" I walked around the table, designer heels I'd kept hidden under the table clicking on hardwood. Michael's eyes widened as I held out my hand for his phone. "This is Dr. Olivia Peterson." I spoke clearly into the device. "Yes, the owner. Please proceed with the plan changes. And tell the board I'll be there shortly." The silence in the dining room was absolute, broken only by the sound of Father's bourbon glass hitting the table. "You?" Michael stammered. "You're the one who bought St. Mary's Hospital?" I smiled, handing his phone back. "Along with the entire healthcare network?" "Yes." "And about that meeting next week?" "I'm afraid I'll have to send my CO instead. I have a surgical center opening in Singapore to attend." Mother's fork clattered against fine china. But you work at a clinic." "I own the clinic. And the building. And the research center behind it." I straightened my sweater. "Actually Brunello Cucinelli, though no one had noticed. In fact, I own most of the medical facilities in the state." The crystal wine glasses trembled as Michael slammed his hand on the mahogany table. This is absurd. I would have known if the hospital network had been sold. Would you? I pulled out my tablet, sliding it across the table. Check your employee portal. Notice anything different? The blood drained from his face as the Quantum Medical Group logo replaced the familiar St. Mary's emblem. His fingers frantically scrolled through pages, each click revealing another layer of my carefully constructed empire. 17 hospitals, I said quietly. 42 research facilities. Over 200 clinics. All acquired through shell companies over the past 5 years while you were busy announcing your promotions at family dinners. Father reached for the tablet with shaking hands. These quarterly reports, these profit margins are quite good, I finished. That little administrative work taught me a lot about healthcare systems. Enough to revolutionize them. Mother's perfect composure cracked. But we've never seen you at any medical conferences, any hospital functions. I nodded to Maria, who projected a series of photographs onto the dining room wall. There I was, in the background of dozens of major medical events. Always present, always overlooked. Last month's neurological summit in Geneva? I pointed to one image. I was 3 rows behind you, Michael, while you bragged about your department's budget. By the way, that budget just tripled. Tripled? He whispered. Your research is actually quite good, I admitted. When you're not busy showing off your cars. The new pediatric wing needs it. Aunt Patricia clutched her pearls. The children's hospital expansion, that anonymous donor, was me. I checked my watch. A subtle Patek Philippe that cost more than Michael's annual salary. Along with the Cancer Research Center, the Medical Scholarship Program, and the Rural Healthcare Initiative you all called wasteful. My secure phone buzzed again. Excuse me, I said, reading the message. The WHO team needs approval for the vaccine distribution protocol. World Health Organization? Father's voice cracked. We're coordinating global medical AI implementation, I explained. That discount insurance plan you mocked? It's actually a revolutionary healthcare model being adopted by 12 countries. Michael slumped in his chair, his Rolex suddenly looking rather cheap. All those times I offered to help with your medical bills were times I was signing your paychecks, I finished. Though technically the board handles payroll. Mother's hand trembled as she reached for her wine. The board of your company? Companies, I corrected. Quantum Medical Group is just the healthcare division. The tech and research branches are separate discussions. The dining room doors opened as my executive team entered, led by my CFO. Ms. Peterson, the Singapore team is waiting. And the Nobel Committee sent their preliminary response. Nobel. Michael choked on his wine. What Nobel? The research you presented last month on neural regeneration? I smiled slightly. Who did you think funded it? Father's face had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. All this time, while we were criticizing your choices. I was building something, I said. Something bigger than titles or corner offices. Speaking of which, I turned to Michael. The Chief of Neurosurgery position is safe. But you'll be reporting to the new Director of Medical Innovation. Who's that? He asked weakly. Dr. Sarah Chin. You called her grant proposal unrealistic last year. She starts Monday. The room fell silent except for the gentle hum of my tablet displaying real-time hospital data from around the world. Success metrics, patient outcomes, research breakthroughs, all flowing through systems I'd built while they thought I was answering phones at a clinic. The Christmas charity gala. Mother suddenly gasped. The one you missed because you were working late. I was in Stockholm, receiving an award for medical technology innovation. I stood up, smoothing my simple sweater. The gala's silent auction? I bought everything. Anonymously, of course. The grandfather clock in the hall chimed 9 times, each toll seeming to mark another crack in my family's perception of reality. Outside, snow continued to fall, but inside the temperature had shifted from icy condescension to stunned silence. I have a board meeting in 20 minutes, I announced. But before I go, let's address the immediate changes. My executive assistant distributed tablets to each family member. These contain your new NDAs and updated protocols, she explained professionally, though I caught her subtle smile. She'd witnessed years of their dismissive treatment. Protocols. Michael's voice had lost its usual authority. For what? Family interactions with Quantum Medical Group, I replied. Given your position at St. Mary's, we need to establish clear boundaries. No more using your title to override hospital policies. No more expedited treatments for your golf buddies. He flushed. I never. Section 3, paragraph 2, I cut in. Complete audit of your department's special accommodations. Interesting reading. Mother dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Darling, surely all this formality isn't necessary among family. Ask Michael about last month's helicopter transfer for Senator Williams' son, I suggested mildly. The one that displaced 3 critical care patients. Father cleared his throat. Now, Olivia, about the hospital board. Has been restructured, I finished. Your country club friends have been replaced with actual medical professionals. Shocking concept, I know. My phone chimed with another update. The WHO team was waiting. One more thing, I added, pulling up a holographic display. The Peterson Family Medical Foundation, your pet project, Mother, has new leadership. But I'm the director, she protested. I corrected. The foundation now funds global healthcare initiatives instead of gala dinners. Dr. Rodriguez, the one you rejected for being underqualified, starts as director next week. The hologram shifted to show real-time data from our worldwide operations. Hospitals lighting up across continents, research breakthroughs flowing in, lives being saved through systems I'd built while they'd written me off. The Christmas gifts this year, I continued, will be slightly different. Instead of your usual donations to your own departments, Michael, you'll find I've established medical clinics in underserved areas. In your name, of course. Surprisingly, humility looks good on a Chief of Neurosurgery's resume. He stared at his tablet, watching his carefully constructed fiefdom transform into something actually meaningful. Mother, your social circle will be thrilled to learn you're now heading our patient advocacy program. Real work, not just fundraising galas. She gripped her wine glass tighter. But my committees will focus on actual healthcare access instead of charity fashion shows. I checked my watch again. Father, your hospital board position has been restructured into a community outreach role. Time to meet the patients you've been deciding policies for. The family portrait above the fireplace seemed to glare down at us. That old hierarchy captured in oil paint, now as outdated as their assumptions about me. My CFO entered quietly. Ms. Peterson, the WHO Secretary General, is holding. One moment, I held up a finger, then turned back to my family. Next week's hospital board meeting will be interesting. For once, you'll all be in the audience while I'm at the podium. Do dress appropriately. The press will be there for the announcement. What announcement? Michael asked, his voice small. Our breakthrough in neural regeneration technology. The one you said was impossible last year. I smiled slightly. Turns out that little administrative work included some rather productive lab time. Standing, I straightened my sweater, revealing the subtle QMG logo pin worth more than Michael's car. Oh, and about that health insurance you were so worried about? Check your own coverage. You might find some interesting changes to the provider network. As I walked to the door, Father found his voice. Olivia, wait. All these years we never what? I turned back. Never noticed that your unsuccessful daughter was revolutionizing global healthcare? Never questioned why your hospitals kept getting mysterious upgrades? Or never thought that someone you dismissed might actually surpass your limited expectations? The silence was deafening. Merry Christmas, I said softly. The family dinner next week will be in my boardroom. 42nd floor of the building you've been calling that new medical tower. You know, the one with my name on it. As the door closed behind me, I heard Mother's faint voice. She owns the building where Michael's been bragging about his office. My assistant fell into step beside me. Should I tell them about the space station medical bay project? Let's save something for New Year's, I replied, stepping into my private elevator. Sometimes the best revenge is letting them discover just how wrong they were. One revelation at a time. In the reflection of the elevator's polished doors, I saw not the dutiful daughter they'd tried to shape, but the architect of a medical empire they'd been too blind to see being built right in front of them. The snow kept falling outside, covering the city in white, while inside the Peterson mansion, A family's carefully constructed hierarchy lay shattered like ornaments dropped from their perfect Christmas tree. The week between Christmas and the board meeting unfolded like a carefully orchestrated symphony of revelations. Each day brought new discoveries that shattered my family's remaining illusions. Day 1 started with Michael discovering his parking spot had been relocated to make room for the new emergency response helicopter pad, the one bearing the Quantum Medical Group logo he'd somehow never noticed before. His morning coffee shop? A QMG subsidiary that had been monitoring staff wellness patterns. Even his prestigious medical journal subscriptions came through one of my publishing companies. "Your brother has been in his office for 3 hours," my AI assistant reported, reviewing every hospital policy he's ever approved. "Show me his screen," I said, watching from my penthouse office as Michael frantically traced the breadcrumbs I'd left over years. Each click revealed another connection, another subsidiary, another piece of the puzzle he'd been too arrogant to see. Mother's Tuesday charity board meeting was particularly entertaining. Maria sent me the security feed as Mother realized that every major donor for the past 5 years had been one of my shell companies. The designer clothes she'd bragged about? From boutiques I owned. Her favorite spa? A medical research facility studying stress reduction techniques. "Mrs. Peterson looks pale," Maria messaged. "Let her figure it out tomorrow when they announce the new research wing," I replied, signing off plans for a cancer center. On Wednesday, Dad learned that every part of his business, the bank, his practice building, even his suppliers, belonged to Quantum Medical Group. He asked for an urgent meeting. "Next week," I instructed. After the Forbes cover story. By Friday, the press gathered for the big reveal. My family sat in the front row as my COO announced, "Please welcome the founder and CEO of Quantum Medical Group, Dr. Olivia Peterson." The audience fell silent as I took the stage. I showed the data, the global impact, the life-saving technology they once called impossible. Then I announced the new orbital research station. Applause filled the room. At the end, I replaced Michael with Dr. Chen. My family finally saw the truth. The empire they mocked now controlled their entire world.